Hi guys, Nicole here with Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today we're going to show you how to breed ball python. So let's get started. Hey guys, so I've been seeing a lot of things lately of people saying how those machines helps tremendously. I know that a lot of bigger breeders have it, but I've actually been breeding now, I think 10-ish years, 9 to 10 years, and I've never had one. Something I would like to have, but it's not currently in the budget right now, especially while we're trying to expand. So I thought it'd be a kind of cool video to show you guys the things that I look for, how I'm able to have such a high success rate without one. For those of you who are new, you've never seen one before, this is what I am talking about. You can actually use it to see the exact size and length of follicles. If you don't know what follicles are, you don't know how to breed ball pythons, we've got tons of videos on it going really in depth, but you could tell the exact size if they've actually turned to eggs. One of my buddies hopefully can come over here this season and check some of my snakes. The reason why I don't really want to commit to a sonogram other than the price is when my buddy came over, we checked all the snakes. Normally they get up to like 30 or 40 millimeters, and then that's when they're going to ovulate. And based on everything that we looked at for, I don't know, 6 of my snakes, it looked like they weren't going to go. Their follicles were all way too small. They had very, very tiny ones. And then within the next 2 months, I started noticing things with them, and just by the way they were acting, I was like, they're about to ovulate. I saw only a couple of their ovulations, but I was able to track, even if I didn't see it, within a couple of days. And just based on how they were acting, I was able to predict when they would actually have their babies. So this is how I do that. Alright, so if you are breeding your ball python female, generally what you do is you put them through brumation. We start November 15th, then December 15th we actually start breeding, and then January 15th we warm the room back up. The last 2 seasons we haven't dropped anything except just the room temperature 2 degrees. There's a lot of people who do their hot spot, change the lighting, they go above and beyond, do all these different things, but this is just what we do and what we've had really good results with. Last year, every single female that I bred except one had eggs. Last season, we bred 15 females and all 15 of them had eggs, and none of them had surprise eggs because we were able to track it so well. So all I do is, I start off with one of these nice charts right here. All I do with that chart is I weigh the snakes every single month, whether they're breeding season or not. We start breeding everybody, and then we start looking for signs to know that your female is growing follicles, that she might become gravid soon, which means pregnant for reptile people. The biggest thing is we notice that snake coming to the cold side of the enclosure. So if the back has the heat, you're going to notice that snake being towards the front of the cage a lot of the time. This can be a little bit tricky if you have only a hide, let's say in the back of the cage. So what we do is we have a hide, and then we have a water bowl in the front that they can hide under and inside of as well. When we actually start breeding, we'll actually remove the hide from the females. If they're a snake that loves to hide, then that can kind of mess with your results because they will put themselves on the warm side just to feel more comfortable and hide. By removing that hide, she can sit anywhere that she wants, and generally if they're going to be on the cold side, that kind of helps us be able to see quickly instead of having to move everything around as well. We can just open the bin, see where she is, and then close it again. Next thing is you're going to notice they have a couple different things to look for. We've got videos explaining all of them. There are things like the glow before they go. Some snakes, like we have a lesser pinstripe, when she is going to actually have babies within a few weeks of it, she will look like she is a hypo. She looks totally different color. Our pieds, the browns will be super bright yellows. The snake looks like a totally different snake. That is a really good sign that an ovulation should be coming up soon. On top of that, they're going to start to grow. It is not the same as an ovulation, but from, let's say, their cloaca, the back of their tail, to about halfway, midway up their body, is going to be a lot thicker all the way across. On top of that, if you have a circular water dish or whatever kind of water bowl you have, they tend to wrap around that water bowl. They just want to get to the coldest side as possible. Now, once your snake ovulates, if you don't know what ovulation looks like, we have some shorts, and I think we have at least one video that show it as well. There's a couple things to look for. One is the tail suck. The other thing is how big they're going to look, especially if they haven't been eating. Eating can come or go. Some people say once your snake stops eating, they're ovulated or they're going to, but a lot of my snakes eat all the way up till ovulation and then they stop. So for me, that hasn't really been the best way to know where your snake is on that process. Now, if she's ovulated, she's always going to be on that warm side. Closer to having her eggs, the more she's going to wrap up in a perfect coil sitting right on her warm spot. And now the way I am able to almost always predict exactly when my snakes are going to have eggs is they will have what's called a pre-lay shed. So if I notice my snake that I've been breeding consistently, I've seen locks on her, she's been in the cold side, I opened the cage, and now she's on that warm side, I'm going to keep an eye on her, and then she's going to go between wanting humidity and wanting hot. So they really want a higher humidity, so what I'll do is I tend to spray down that bin a little bit more, so that'll encourage her to stay on her warm side. Get it nice and humid in there for her, and she will have her pre-lay shed. Now that pre-lay shed is approximately 27 days before eggs. Some of my snakes I've been working with for close to a decade, so I actually can tell how soon they'll have their eggs. For example, our albino pied, she always holds out to something like 40, 50 days. I got it written down on her chart. It's another reason why we do the chart. She always waits way longer, which makes me very nervous, especially the first few seasons that she bred. But the general ball python waiting from the minute they have their pre-lay shed till actually having their eggs is about 27 days. So what I like to do is I make a little card up. Once I see them go to that hot spot, I'll keep an eye on them. I'll be checking every day for that shed. Once they have that pre-lay shed and they're back on that warm spot, I'll actually write down the date, and I'll write down the date 27 days from then. That way, when it comes to about a week before, I will check her at least once. It's really easy to tell once they're about to have eggs, once they've had that pre-lay. Like I said, they're going to get more and more in a perfect spiral, perfect spot a few days before, like 48 hours, 72 hours before. You can see her start to move her body in really weird ways and twist. Even before that or during that, they'll lay sometimes belly up just trying to get comfortable. And 24 hours, 36 hours before, she's moving a lot in weird ways, weird angles, like she's trying to get those eggs into position. And once she starts to lay, if you notice it, close it for a couple more hours, make sure she's had all of her eggs. But with that, I think I saw maybe 3 out of 15 ovulations last year, and a couple of them I just saw a pre-lay shed, looked, she was in the hot, and I wrote down the date, and we ended up figuring out that way whether I actually saw a lot of signs or not. Like for example, my GHR Mojave, she ends up looking like a hypo. She gets so light in color. But then we have another one who doesn't change much because the brightness of her really throws off if she's doing that glow. It may not sound like an exact science, but the longer you're working with specific animals, the longer you're doing it, the better you can tell. It's very rare in the last 8 years for me to have a clutch that I wasn't aware of or wasn't prepared for, especially once you start the breeding process. If you're looking for these things and you're really paying attention to your animals, it's really easy to tell, and you can normally guess within a couple of days. Personally, I like being able to monitor my animals, get to know my animals, so I think that this is one of the best ways to do that, and it saves $2,000 to $10,000 from actually buying it. I'm sure one day if we could do full-time and we expand greatly with this, I'm not going to be able to notice little things about every single female, but hopefully this helps some of you new breeders out, especially if you have some females and you're not really sure what kind of stuff they're doing. But again, we've got a ton of other videos showing you, explaining, going really in depth. We've got a whole 3-part breeding series for you guys if you want to check that out. But thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We do new videos every single week. So I'll see you guys in the next video.